Good morning. I'm Pete Najarian on this. Yes, it's hump day. We all know that. This is the take for Market Rebellion. I got to tell you, we had a divergence yesterday that was started off the day that actually kind of closed back up very, very tightly towards the end of the day. As a matter of fact, you look at the Dow, we were up a couple of hundred points early. That being said, then the accelerated move to the downside that continued throughout the rest of the day. We did finish in positive territory for the Dow, but we finished up 9 points, not the 200 plus points that we had risen to very much right out of the gate. Now, NASDAQ, on the other hand, just wavered around. It never really had a solid path to the upside or the downside. It was up or down 10 or 20 points, give or take, and then finished up the day on a positive, up about 27 points. So that divergence really kind of closed up by the end of the day between the two. And that was something that, not a huge big deal, but that was a little bit surprising. And we've seen some of that selling, and we've seen a lot of record numbers. And it seems like oftentimes when you're getting close to those record numbers, then you start to see folks that are getting a little bit nervous, a little bit, maybe their hands aren't quite as strong as they once were, and they decided to maybe take off some of these positions. Not being critical, just saying that's part of the market action that we oftentimes see. So we got volatility still trading right around 16 yesterday, where the volumes did come down a little bit. 33.2 million is nothing to sneeze at, though, and a pretty decent day overall in terms of some of the volumes and where we were seeing that. I'll get into that in a minute. But in terms of what was the leadership, Apple took over once again, 1.3 million contracts yesterday, Tesla, 1 million contracts yesterday. Then you get into the A's, AMD and AMC, both having a pretty decent day, but well off of some of the volume days that we have seen for both those names, but specifically for AMC, both in about the 600,000 range. So a pretty broad, participation yesterday, and a little bit less in terms of the volume that we had been seeing. And sometimes this has a lot to do with, anyway, it will have a lot to do with the long weekend. People start to kind of get a little bit more nervous about the long weekend, and sometimes as volumes come in, we'll see if that continues today. It's only Wednesday, but we'll see. But that might have been part of the reason that we pulled back as much as we did yesterday in some of the volumes, and we'll see if that continues, and we may see a little bit of a light day. Starting of the day, at least today, a little bit lighter, at least from what I'm seeing. Technology, that was one of the areas that started to move a little bit to the upside, pushing the NASDAQ into the green, into that closing area, along with the SMH. You look at some of those chip names, Skyworks and Xilinx and AMD and Qorvo, which had an absolutely spectacular day yesterday as well. By the way, Microsoft, another new all-time high yesterday. It just seems to go day after day after day. It's been very, very powerful mover, as we all know. We talk about these financials. The financials had a little bit of their own divergence yesterday. You had Bank of America, Wells Fargo, they were closing in the red. Meanwhile, you had Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley moving to the upside. So a little bit of that change, and obviously they're not all the same. And we try to bring that up all the time. We talk about the financials, not necessarily the banks. There are differences. There's no doubt about it on what those different companies are actually doing and how they generate the majority of their revenue and so forth. There are definitely some differences, and oftentimes we do pack all these into the same area, and they aren't exactly the same. Energy, well, not exactly the greatest day in the world. Those beta names definitely taking a little bit of a shot. But what really stood out from yesterday for me was the unusual option activity in specific names. And I'm going to give you a list of these names, and you're going to see a little bit of a pattern of what I'm talking about. Apple, NVIDIA, Western Digital, Microsoft, Tesla. Wow, those all kind of sound like they might be in that NASDAQ side of things, or at least in the technology area for sure. And that is something that stood out. But we had some monstrous volumes, many of them very short term, some going out a little bit further, some going out extreme distances. As a matter of fact, I'll point out Microsoft yesterday, which had some option paper in it, but they were going out into the leap options. Leap options are those options that are way into the future. You're leaping into the future in January, and they were going out not this coming January, they were going out even farther. But anyway, just wanted to point that out. That was pretty interesting. So when we start off today, and we're getting into the starting points of today, really, really quiet. Maybe it is the long weekend, but it started off at least very, very quiet. Not a whole lot of movement from the Dow. It was down about 30 points in the pre-market. The NASDAQ down about 15 points. NASDAQ's been hovering around in negative territory for the majority of the morning. Meanwhile, you take a look over at the Dow, there's that divergence once again. Last I looked, we were up about 110 points, just kind of gradually going a little bit higher in this first hour of trade. We'll see if that continues. Certainly yesterday, this is around the time, not long after we did the take yesterday, where we started to see some of that pullback and some of that deceleration and that movement to the downside that we started to see that ended up for the rest of the session. So volatility index, a little bit over 16 and a half. Last I looked, it was about 1665. That stands out as something pretty interesting. By the way, we're getting through today, June 30th. We are looking at the first half 2021. So we'll see exactly where things line up, but it's been a very, very powerful and a very impressive start to the 2021 trading year, no doubt, and multiple new all-time highs that we have been seeing throughout the last couple of months, it seems like, on this big push to the upside. So look over at crude, and you see crude hovering very, very close to that 74 level. We got above 74, we pulled back a little bit. We've been somewhere near that 74. Beta names are absolutely rocking today to the upside. Take a look at Devon, take a look at Apache. Some of these names, Range Resources, Pioneer, we were really seeing some pretty nice moves to the upside. Again, yesterday, as I say, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Yesterday, those beta names weren't looking so great. Today, looking much better. There's no doubt about that. You look at energy, definitely leading in terms of those sectors. You look over at Bitcoin. Bitcoin's been in this kind of an interesting area ever since bouncing off. You know, we were talking about it not too many weeks ago where it was pushing towards that 60,000 level. Not too many days ago, trading days ago, we were actually underneath 30,000. And here we are now kind of hovering right around that 33,000 to 35,000. The last I looked, we were trading right around 34,600, some sort of in that category, off a little bit from yesterday's higher levels up towards that 36,000 level. So what are some of the stocks that really are standing out for me early on? And we have a little bit of option paper. I will say that this isn't part of the unusual, but I will tell you, Walmart. Now, Walmart's pretty interesting, and it was up about 3%, leading the Dow. We're having a pretty nice day. The affordable diabetic care in this private brand world, something that we've not really seen from Walmart. That's really interesting. It's got me sort of looking at this stock a little bit closer. And by the way, the stock has not done a whole heck of a lot for the year. And if you take a look at that with stronger earnings, it's gotten to be in a level where it's a little bit more affordable, a little bit more appetizing to look at about a 23, 24 PE stock, as opposed to where this was a year and a half ago, where it was trading closer into the 30 plus PE area. So that has come in as this. We've seen some of these great big revenue quarters that they've had. So that's something I'm taking a really close look at. As a matter of fact, we're seeing a little bit of unusual option activity in there. You know what stock also hit? I talked about Microsoft hitting new highs. Well, Moderna today, new highs. Now last I looked, it had pulled off of those highs, but it got up and above that 240 area. I think it hit it right around 245, something like that. A big, nice move. And we've heard a lot of folks talking about this name for a really long time. Obviously, pandemic name that everybody has been focused on, but it's much more than just a one vaccine company. This is a great vaccine company that's done an unbelievable job and trades at what I consider to be an unbelievable valuation, especially with the cash flows that they've got. So when we look at the sectors early on, you've got energy leading, you've got consumer staples as a part of it, technology kind of wavering around a little bit along with the semiconductors. So we'll see how this whole thing plays out. But I've got 2 unusuals. I am going to be on the halftime report today. I'm also going to be on the 5 p.m. Fast Money show today. So I look forward to seeing you there. So I'll have even more unusuals, especially on the halftime report, and we'll see how that all unfolds. So AMD, number 1. So this is a stock that's been steadily kind of moving to the upside quietly, it seems, because it hasn't gotten nearly the attention it had in the past. This was a stock that not too terribly long ago was trading into the low 80s. Well, here we are today. It was trading 91.50 when we had a buyer of 7,000 of Friday's expiring, July 2nd. That's Friday. The 92 calls. Now, it's already moved up and through there, but they originally were buying these calls for about 75 cents up to about $1.20. Really some solid option paper there. The stock started to lift to the upside. I think it's one of those names where you got to be a little bit of patient. You don't want to ever be chasing too much in these markets. And that's something that we talked about. As a matter of fact, last night, we were talking about that with Bill Johnson and Stu Dorfman when we did our Market Rebellion educational seminar. And that was something really great. If you didn't get a chance to see it, you're going to want to be able to try to access that, because those two guys are the best educators. They just do an absolutely amazing job with what they, how they approach it and how much they do put into it each and every day. So secondly, I've got Delta, DAL. Now, we've had this name not too long ago. We had a lot of the different airline names that were hitting. Delta hitting today. Again, stock was trading right around 43. Yes, again, these are July 2nd expiring, 8,400 of the 43 calls. They expire Friday. But that being said, these are right at the money. Stock was trading just above 43. These are the 43s. They were paying 45 cents up to about 57 cents. If this stock starts to get any kind of a lift to the upside, we've got today, we've got tomorrow, we've got Friday. These options have the potential, at least, to start moving to the upside. Somebody out there with 8,400 of them thinks that Delta has a little bit of a move left in it to move to the upside. Folks, have a great day of trading. Knowledge is king, like we were just talking about a second ago. You want to have the knowledge on how to navigate through the derivatives world. And if you can do that, you've got leverage and you've got an ability to be able to hedge your risk in a lot of different ways. Those guys here at Market Rebellion can show you exactly how that works. It's very, very important. You don't want to have a bad experience. Folks, have a great day of trading. I'll see you at noon. And again, I'll see you at 5 Eastern time for both the halftime and fast money. See you then.